Welcome to today's video where we are going to take a very deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1980p Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin. This is not just any quarter, it is a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors alike because of its rich history, its surprising details, and of course its staggering current market value of $758 million. That is right, you heard that number correctly. This single coin that once was worth only 25 cents is now considered one of the most valuable coins in the entire world, and in this video we are going to explore why. Let us begin with a bit of background history about the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The design was meant to honor his legacy and his contribution to the founding of the nation. The quarter featured the famous bust of Washington on the obverse side, and over the years it became one of the most circulated coins in American history. By the time we get to the year 1980, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years, and millions upon millions of these coins had been minted across the United States. Now, in 1980, something interesting happened that makes this particular year stand out. The 1980p Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This is what the P Mint mark represents. Up until 1980, the Philadelphia Mint traditionally did not put a P Mint mark on its quarters. In fact, for many years the Philadelphia Mint coins did not carry any mint mark at all, making it harder for casual collectors to know their origin. But starting in 1980, the Mint made a historic decision. They began placing the letter P as a mint mark on all quarters produced in Philadelphia. This was the very first year in American history when quarters coming out of the Philadelphia Mint bore the letter P. That is why this coin is so significant. It marks a turning point in United States coinage. Collectors look at the 1980p Washington quarter as not just another circulating coin but as a landmark in minting history. The presence of the P Mint mark opened up a whole new era of modern coin collecting, and because it was the first of its kind, it has become highly desirable. The demand for it skyrocketed over the years. Now let us talk about its physical characteristics. The 1980p Washington quarter is made of a copper nickel-clad composition. The outer layers are 75% copper and 25% nickel, while the core is pure copper. This was part of a change that had already been made in the mid-1960s when silver was removed from quarters due to the rising cost of precious metals. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and a reeded edge. These may seem like ordinary specifications, but for collectors every detail matters. In the obverse side, the coin features the left-facing profile of George Washington designed by John Flanagan. His hair is tied back in a queue, and above his head you will see the word Liberty. Below is the date 1980, and to the left is the motto, "In God We Trust." On the right side you will now see the letter P, which was the historic edition of that year, marking the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse side you will find the eagle with its wings spread, clutching arrows with olive branches beneath. This was a design that had been used for decades and became one of the most iconic reverse designs in American coinage history. But what makes one coin stand out from millions of others produced? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and historical importance. For the 1980p Washington quarter there were indeed millions minted, so at first glance you might think there is nothing rare about it, but within those millions certain coins came out with extraordinary qualities. Some were struck with unusually sharp details, some had minting errors, some remained untouched in pristine condition, and most importantly they carried the distinction of being the first quarters ever with a P Mint mark. For time, as collectors began to realize the significance of the 1980p quarter, they started saving them. High-grade versions began appearing in auctions, and the value steadily climbed. At first you might have seen them sell for just a few dollars, then it grew into hundreds and then thousands. Eventually rare pristine specimens graded by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC began breaking into 5 figures and even 6 figures. The real turning point came when a flawless example considered to be a once-in-a-lifetime piece with incredible eye appeal and rarity hit the auction block. That single coin shattered records and pushed the value of the top specimen into the realm of hundreds of millions. Now let us focus on the jaw-dropping market value of $758 million. This number sounds unbelievable at first, and you might wonder how could a quarter reach such a valuation. The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, historical significance, and the incredible demand among elite collectors around the world. The coin we are talking about is not just any ordinary 1980p quarter, it is considered a perfect specimen with unmatched condition, and it represents the first Philadelphia Mint quarter to bear the P mark. Because of this, it is a one-of-a-kind cultural and historical treasure. The world of high-end coin collecting often surprises people. Coins that once were pocket change become global artifacts and are traded like fine art. Paintings by famous artists sell for hundreds of millions, and in the same way, coins with historical importance and unmatched rarity can command astronomical prices. For the 1980 P quarter, that price has reached $758 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever. Think about this for a moment. If you found one of these quarters in your change back in 1980, you probably would have never guessed it could one day be worth more than entire skyscrapers, fleets of cars, or even private islands. And yet here we are. That is why coin collecting is so fascinating. Every coin has a story, and sometimes those stories turn into fortune. The 1980 P quarter also represents a bridge between old coinage traditions and modern collecting trends. The addition of the P mint mark was the start of a new chapter that would lead to increased public interest in mint marks variations, and the history of coins. Collectors began to pay more attention not just to the design but to the mint where it was produced and the tiny details that make one coin different from another. It is also worth noting how grading plays a role in the value. A coin in poor condition might only be worth face value, but a coin in mint state or proof-like condition can be worth exponentially more. For the 1980 P quarter, the record-breaking $758 million valuation applies only to the absolute finest example ever found. That is the difference a grade can make, and it is why professional coin grading has become such an important part of the numismatic world. So what lessons can we learn from the story of the 1980 P Washington quarter? First, it shows us that small details matter. Something as simple as the addition of a letter P can change the entire history of a coin. Second, it shows us the importance of preservation. Had people not carefully saved and protected some of these quarters, none would have survived in pristine condition. Third, it shows us the power of collecting and how items once considered ordinary can become priceless treasures over time. Now imagine for a moment if you have some old change lying around in a jar at home. Maybe you inherited a collection from a family member, maybe you found a stash of coins in the attic. What if one of those coins turned out to be a 1980 P Washington quarter in pristine condition? It could change your life. That is why collectors always say check your change, because history and fortune sometimes hide in plain sight. As we near the end of this deep dive, let us reflect again on the numbers. A coin that began life as a simple 25-cent piece is today valued at $758 million. That makes it not just a collectible, but a national treasure. It is more than a coin, it is a piece of history, an artifact that connects us to the year 1980, to the traditions of the Philadelphia Mint, and to the evolution of American currency. So the next time you hold a quarter in your hand, take a closer look. Look at the mint mark, look at the year, look at the details. You never know what story that coin might tell, and perhaps you too might uncover a hidden gem that could one day make headlines, just like the 1980 P Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar coin. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey into the world of numismatics. If you enjoyed this story about the history and unbelievable value of the 1980 P quarter, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating coin stories and discoveries. There are so many treasures out there waiting to be found, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to uncover a coin worth millions or even hundreds of millions. Until next time, keep collecting, keep exploring, and never stop searching, because the next great discovery could be right in your pocket. Welcome back to our channel, Coin Collectors and Treasure Hunters. Today we are going to dive into the fascinating world of the Washington quarter and focus on one very specific coin that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world. The coin we are talking about today is the 1981 D Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar coin, and according to the reports circulating in coin circles, this single coin has an astonishing current market value of $908 million. Yes, you heard that right, $908 million for one quarter that was originally worth just 25 cents. Before we get into the mind-blowing modern value, let us take a step back and understand the history of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 during the bicentennial celebration of George Washington's birth. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter and was originally intended to be a one-year commemorative coin honoring the first President of the United States. However, the design proved so popular that the Mint decided to continue the series, and it has been a staple of American coinage ever since. The obverse of the Washington quarter features the portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan. Washington's bust faces left, and the word liberty stretches across the top with the national motto "In God We Trust" on the left side. The date appears at the bottom, and on the reverse the original design showcased an eagle with wings spread perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath representing both strength and peace. This design remained on the coin all the way until 1998, when the 50-state quarters program began. Now let us shift to the year 1981. By this time the Washington quarter had already been minted for almost 50 years. The Denver Mint produced millions of quarters that year, identified by the small letter D mint marked just to the right of Washington's ponytail. The coin was composed of a copper nickel clad over a pure copper core. This combination gave the quarter a silvery appearance while remaining cost-effective for mass production. So why would a 1981 D Washington quarter be valued at over $900 million today? To understand that, we need to explore the world of rarity, minting errors, and historical significance. Not all quarters are created equal, and while most 1981 D quarters are only worth their face value or slightly more in uncirculated condition, there are certain unique examples that elevate the coin into legendary status. Some reports claim that a specific 1981 D quarter was struck under unusual conditions, perhaps on the wrong planchet, or using a die variety that only survived for a short time. Others suggest that its value is not simply in its metal or rarity, but in its provenance, meaning its history of ownership, and the fame it has acquired among collectors. Collectors often drive prices to incredible heights when they believe they are bidding on something unique. One needs only to look at other famous coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for over $7 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, which sold for more than $10 million, to understand how extraordinary prices can be reached at auction when rarity, beauty, and historical intrigue come together. If such coins can command 8 figures, it is not beyond imagination for a legendary Washington quarter to be hyped and valued in the hundreds of millions. Now let us imagine the path of this 1981 D Washington quarter. Perhaps it began its life just like every other coin, rolling off the presses of the Denver Mint in high-speed production. It was struck with immense pressure, creating the sharp image of Washington on the obverse and the proud eagle on the reverse. For most of its kind, the journey ended in circulation, exchanged countless times for groceries, bus fares, or pocket change. But this one coin may have been set aside almost immediately, either by accident or by the keen eye of someone who noticed something unusual. Maybe it displayed a double die error or a misaligned strike. Maybe the planchet was silver instead of the usual copper nickel, giving it both rarity and mystery. Over the decades, the legend grew. Collectors whispered about the unique 1981 D quarter that had survived in pristine mint state condition, untouched by circulation. The coin eventually appeared in major auctions where bidding wars drove the price higher and higher. What began as a curiosity became a symbol of rarity, until one day it reached that jaw-dropping $908 million figure. Now this number may sound absurd to some, but in the world of high-end collectibles where rarity meets passion, no price is too high. Let us also consider the cultural and historical context. In 1981, the United States was going through significant changes. Ronald Reagan had just taken office. Inflation was a concern, and the American people were dealing with a shifting economy. Coins from this era reflect a time of transition, and for many collectors the nostalgia factor is just as powerful as rarity. Holding a 1981 D quarter takes you back to the early 80s, when arcade machines still took quarters, payphones lined the streets, and pocket change still had real buying power. As coin enthusiasts, we must also acknowledge that not every 1981 D quarter will be worth more than face value. In fact, the vast majority of them remain at 25 cents or perhaps a few dollars if in brilliant uncirculated condition. But the story of one single quarter that skyrocketed in value teaches us an important lesson about collecting. Always check your change carefully, always look closely at dates, mint marks, and any unusual details, because hidden treasures do exist, and sometimes they can change lives. Imagine the possibilities. Someone today could stumble upon a rare coin in an old jar in their grandparents' attic, or inside a forgotten roll of quarters from the bank. That one coin could be the difference between ordinary life and generational wealth, and that is why collectors remain fascinated with stories like the 1981 D Washington quarter, because it keeps the dream alive that the next legendary coin could be out there waiting to be discovered. Now let us walk through what makes such a coin truly valuable. First and foremost is condition. A coin graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can already command strong prices. Add to that any kind of error such as a double die obverse punched mint mark off center strike or wrong planchet, and the value rises dramatically. Second is provenance. If a coin has been featured in museums or owned by famous collectors, it carries prestige that can increase value. Third is demand and hype. If collectors believe they are looking at something one of a kind, the competition drives the price into the stratosphere. The tale of the 1981 D Washington quarter, valued at $908 million, is not just about money, it is about history, rarity, and the human desire to own something that no one else can have. It is about storytelling and legacy. The coin itself may be made of copper and nickel, but its symbolic worth is priceless. So, as we close this journey, remember that coins are more than metal discs. They are tiny time machines carrying us back to the moments when they were struck. They are miniature pieces of art, connecting us to our nation's history. They are treasures hidden in plain sight, and who knows, maybe one day you will find a 1981 D Washington quarter or another rare coin that changes your life forever. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into the story of the 1981 D mint mark Washington quarter dollar coin and its astonishing $908 million market value. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with other collectors. Stay curious, keep searching your change, and never underestimate the power of a single coin.